The world is not going to change unless we change it. Now, that means that for all of you that are open-minded, for all of you that can zoom out, take a deep breath, and look at the world, look at history, and then confidently and humbly have a opinion about the future of humanity without any fear that you have to obey the authorities of the past, whether it be the church fathers or the ancient texts. Take those things into consideration, but at any given point in time, if we want to be alive as humans, we should maintain our essence, our autonomy. We should look at all things with a skeptical and critical mind. And in doing so, I have found that there's nothing we should submit to if we can't make sense of it. And so for many of you, when you look at the world and you look at, many of us struggle to have any faith in government at this point, whether it's the revolving, the constant revolving door between the private sector and the public sector, or the military industrial complex, or just the ties between the systems within our world that are seemingly out of our reach and not always in our best interest. We find ourselves subjected to this reality. But the thing is, we have more power than we think. Now, in all of those things I mentioned, we find ourselves victims to. But there is a facet of our world that isn't as controlled as those other aspects of our world, and that is religion. Why? Because spirituality is something that we are actually in full control of. All of the other things involve money and relationships and institutions. But if there's anywhere in this world where we can really build something new and we can really come together with revolutionary ideas that unite humanity and provide a coming together where we can collectively address all of these other issues in the world from a united standpoint, that is religion. That is spirituality. Because, again, we can only rise where we are united. And so that unity must come from common ground. That unity has to be real. It has to be founded in something. And there's only one place that we can come to a common ground without any barriers to entry, without any barriers preventing us from coming together. And so we as humans, I believe, in this time where all systems are failing us, I believe we are all called to recognize this. We are all experiencing this. So the fire within us, the drive, the essence of our soul that knows that with this existence, with the pulse that we all have and the life force rushing through our bodies, we all yearn for something bigger than us, something that we can come together, unite behind, and effect changes in the collective experience. And so, again, we're at a time where all these systems in our world are failing. And so we've experienced that for especially the past 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 years. Before that, there was so much progress. We were lost in the illusion of the material and the pursuit of wealth and happiness and all that. So, that time was what it was. But we're at a different time now. We're at a time where you have to work 2, sometimes 3 jobs. We're at a time where you can barely make ends meet regardless, and we're at a time where it can become so stressful that we find ourselves not even interested in getting married or procreation. It is in large part a byproduct of the failings of the global monetary system, the economy that has come from the corruption and the centralization of power and collaboration between the highest levels of all of these systems of our world. But at this point in time, thanks to that experience, we are now capable of recognizing that we, in this desire to have power, in this collective desire to affect change and to progress and to grow, again, there aren't that many opportunities to do that, but there is one, again, and that one is the spiritual endeavor. Nothing can stop us from collectively awakening, collectively uniting, and when we come together in numbers, that energy that each one of us possess, when concentrated, becomes very powerful. In fact, this is just a direct relationship. As we unite, the power grows and our potential grows and our influence grows. The leaders, the rulers of this realm, the vast majority of them don't want us to know that. They don't want us to think that's even possible. And so this is where we get the idea of dividing and conquering. Divide and conquer. Where you keep humanity divided, or if you can keep humanity divided, then you can rule over them effectively, and you can prevent uprisings, and you can prevent change that the people genuinely want deep down within each and every one of them. You can prevent that change if you can prevent them from uniting. And so I say all that to say that is what the Raise Our Awareness Revolution represents. And this is why the acronym ROAR is significant, because this is humanity's roar. And we are at a time where this is deeply symbolic of what we are actually going through. We are recognizing that we have been robbed of what an equitable experience within this realm should look like. If with all the technology, with all the advancement in science, with all the wealth around the world, it should be more equitable. None of us should be suffering. Period. The only reason we are is because we are not united. And in this state of not being united, those with the money, those with the power are able to then influence us. And as long as that influence keeps us divided, then they're good. And they know this. And so we're at a point where the power and the wealth is concentrated more than it has ever been. And it's not surprising that we are seeing some of the most egregious crimes against humanity, some of the most unfathomable actions by governments and the private sector at the highest levels. And what I've come to believe humbly, and it's been a long journey. I was raised Catholic, and so I was stuck in this mentality that this life is a test and God is up there judging us, and when we pass away, we could be separated from him forever and ever. Once I recognized that philosophy is flawed, and when I adopted a new philosophy, I became a better version of myself while simultaneously removing all of the fear that religion had built inside me. I recognized that there's something seriously wrong with this structure that we've inherited. And the Bible tells us good trees don't bear bad fruits. Bad trees don't bear good fruits. And so if the structure of authority and the appeal to authority, whether it be through the religious texts that men have told us were divinely inspired, or the church fathers that put together these books, whether it be in Christianity or Islam or any religion, philosophy, or way of life, if we allow those books and that authority to continue to divide us, then it's only by our own ignorance that we don't rise. But I think it's becoming more and more clear that we can't trust authority. If you trust our government in today's world, then I don't know how. I don't know how. But nevertheless, the purpose is to make the world aware that the only thing holding humanity back is us uniting. And the one place we can unite is in spirit. And so, where do we go from here? Well, I think, for one, religion is a key component for the rulers of this realm, because they can rule over all systems that govern humanity. But if they just allowed us to unite spiritually, that would topple all of the corruption in all of the systems. It would be toppled if humanity united. So that's why religion, in the grand scheme of things, is a key component to rulership and control and manipulation of the masses. And that's what all of this is really about. And I'm talking about at the highest levels. The crazy thing is, a lot of these people that are leading these religions and leading these institutions, just under that top layer, they are blissfully ignorant of what it really is that they're doing. The real harm that is being done to humanity, and the reality of how exactly it is holding us back. And I do believe that it's all a part of divine control. We are at a point in time where humanity is now waking up. Every day it grows exponentially. We now call it the Great Awakening. This is something that the younger you are, the easier it is for you to comprehend. I think that's just the nature of reality. The next generation is what's forming and changing our world. And so in this process, it's going to be up to us, particularly the up-and-coming generation, to recognize that deep truth, that wisdom that comes from, I can't remember if it was Thomas Jefferson or Benjamin Franklin, but the quote is, "When you sacrifice freedom for security, you end up with neither." Now, in the religious realm, we're talking about spirituality. And so that it has life and death. It has this existence and the afterlife. We don't know what comes in the afterlife. So that's easy for the rulers to control. They tell us, oh, well, if you don't do these things, or you don't, worse yet, just simply believe this thing, then you have all of eternity to fear. That's the most powerful thing you could ever threaten someone with. All of eternity. And so I understand how difficult it is to grow out of that, or to recognize the brainwashing, and to make the decision to have your own opinion, and to trust that your discernment is something that you shouldn't be ashamed of, you shouldn't be afraid of, and it's something that, as long as you're honest, as long as you stand by the principles that govern your actions and your beliefs, and you make sure those principles are aligned with virtue, whatever conclusion you come to, you should have nothing to fear. Because God, in an afterlife, can't look at you and say, hey, how's it going? Why didn't you believe what you were supposed to? Well, for one, God, I'm honest, and I'm a critical thinker. I use my brain like I figured you'd want me to. You gave me this brain. And in my honest intellectual endeavor, I did all of this research and I came to this conclusion, honestly. No bias, no trying to manipulate my alignment with virtue. Genuinely thought that this was the most ideal way of life, the most ideal way of perceiving life, or the most ideal religion or worldview. And I also thought that if the whole world believed this, then the world would be a completely different place. And it would be more like what I could imagine a heaven on earth would be like. And so in spite of all this corruption and this all of these systems that I had completely lost faith in, I recognize that there's power in the soul of the individual, and that collective soul, when aligned, when in congregation, that congregation of souls, the power that it wields is only limited by the amount of people that they share in that congregation with. So all of the people in the world in spiritual congregation, there's nothing more powerful. Nothing can stop all of the people in the world when they are in a congregation spiritually. It's impossible. And that's what we need to understand, and we need to recognize first and foremost. But secondly, again, it's difficult to break free from the brainwashing and the manipulation through fear and judgment and the threat of separation from the divine. That is a real thing, but it is possible now to overcome it. And I know this because I overcame it with conviction and with zero question in my mind. And again, this is all a part of a cosmic clock. This is all happening at the time that it's supposed to happen. Because without technology, without being able to communicate with each other around the world, none of this would be able to happen in the way that it is happening. And so, having said that, once you recognize where we're at, and we have access to all the information, and on top of that, we have access to experiences that are miraculous, that are otherworldly, that are divine, and that are profoundly impactful to the experience of the individual that experiences these things, as well as theoretically what the impact it would have on the collective, the implications if the entire world were to come to this realization that many of us have come to, then our world will be a different place. And what I'm getting at particularly is near-death experiences. Near-death experiences are the key phenomenon in our life that will change this world. That, coupled with information technology, the ability to spread the knowledge of our experiences, our testimonials about these near-death experiences, that is the backbone of what will drive humanity's roar, what will drive the Great Awakening, what will drive the unifying of humanity into one single family that transcends all division and is far more powerful than all of the systems of governance and power structures that are in control of this realm. Us unifying spiritually is the solution. And the way we're going to do it, in my experience as a Catholic for 32 years of my life, loving debate, loving the logic, the rational thinking, like all that goes into those discussions, I could not get past the authority of the Catholic Church, and I could not get past the fear and the unknown of the afterlife. So I just deferred to Pascal's wager, and I just, I was Catholic. And then I heard about these near-death experiences. And these experiences that people have in the afterlife and come back and live to tell about it, they speak of a totally different worldview. They speak about the nature of reality in a totally different way. One that allows for unity, one that allows for a world without judgment, while simultaneously still guarding the value of a life in accordance with virtue. And it actually teaches a way of valuing and understanding our interactions with each other in a way that you don't often hear in religion, especially when said religion is telling you that you need to focus on what not to do in order to have eternal life. Or you need to just say that you believe in God and that's it. Or this particular version of God based on these texts and what these church fathers have said. Once you accept that, then you have the faith and you're good. It's all built on fear. We seek that comfort. We want that security. We want that peace of mind that comes from knowing what happens after we pass away. That is powerful. It is the foundation of why all of us seek, for one, understand the nature of that, and for two, why we're so dead set on understanding that truth in a way that if we can't understand it, we would still much rather just find something to latch on to, find some religion to say, oh, well, I pledge allegiance to this religion and this is why, and then in saying that and deciding it for yourself, you find comfort. And so without going into too much detail about the very nature of this reality and how that act of grasping onto something is really just a statement of lack that you don't even know that you're living by. You're lacking, you don't even know it. But in that lack, you want to attach to something, or you want to control the outcome of your future. And so that process is something that when we aren't comfortable with our understanding of the nature of reality, we find ourselves seeking to do those things. And this is why near-death experiences are so important, because people come back by the thousands, by the millions. You can go online and you can listen to these testimonies, these accounts, these stories that they tell. And you can look at the commonalities and you can finally rest assured that what we have been told is not true. You have a source of information. You have evidence in the commonalities to give you the security of knowing that there is a simpler way of understanding this reality. And when you find out newfound understanding of reality is actually based in the Jesus Christ and his teachings, once you experience that realization that, wow, it is so simple. And it's just like Jesus Christ said. And yes, there are contradictions in the Bible. You have to understand, the Bible is a masterfully put together document by the divine so that it would allow for 2,000 years of debate and discussion and confusion, and then still allow for a great awakening of humanity that can still refer back to that very same Bible and conclusively say, with the evidence from the near-death experiences, that Jesus Christ was actually divinely incarnated and was most likely the essence of the concentrated form of consciousness. Call it God, call it the Creator, whatever you want to call it. What he was teaching is what is exactly talked about by these people that have a near-death experience and come back to talk about it. And that is that how we treat others is the only thing we take with us into the afterlife. You don't take your money, you don't take your family, you don't take your wealth, you don't take your assets, you don't take anything. All you take with you is your experiences. And the focal point of that is your experiences with others. those moments, those memories, those experiences, that's all you take with you. And so this is why Jesus said, how you treat other people is how you're treating God. That's your opportunity. That's the opportunity to have a relationship with God. Every single relationship you have with others is a relationship with God. Period. And your relationship with God is all that matters. Yes, none of us are perfect, but God knows your heart. And it's all about being aware that humanity is God in all of its different forms. And so rather than continuing down this road of this delusion of all these different ancient texts and authorities or church fathers or men that came before us, all these differences of opinion that have driven us to go to war against each other, to this day, we're seeing people being persecuted for this very thing. Humanity needs to transition, abiding by, living by covenants and commandments, to an enlightened existence where we live by principles and awareness. That's why this is the Raise Our Awareness Revolution. Humanity's roar. We are lions, not sheep. United we rise, divided we fall. And as sheep, we have been led astray. We're led in different directions. And that division only stands to leave us in the worst case scenario of life. In order to rise, we must unite. Period. This is why Q says, where we go one, we go all. And so the key is we need to develop a teleological understanding of what the future of humanity looks like. We need to take the principles and apply them to a value hierarchy that we share in understanding and respecting and living according to. And it's not that difficult. It's not that complicated. There's always going to be these outliers of, is this inherently evil or is this inherently good? The Bible talks about the covenants with God, and at certain times, God allowed them to do certain things because their hearts were hardened, or that right there tells you there's some relativity in understanding morality. And so once we understand that there is going to be a change and that the people that came before us do not have the solution for humanity, so long as their model is built in a divisive, and we're talking about division over petty things, whether or not Mary is the co-redemptrix or whatever sorts of weird terms they use. They apply all these terms that have the average person bickering with each other about things that have nothing to do with how we coexist and how we treat each other. That's the absurdity of the whole thing. Oh, I'm Protestant because I believe this, this, and this, or I'm Baptist because I believe this, or I'm Hindu because I believe this, or I'm Muslim because I believe this, I'm Catholic because I believe this. No one cares what goes on in your head, what you think you believe. No one cares. The only thing that matters is how you treat others, how we coexist. That's what we want to know about you. That's it. It's that simple. And in that simplicity, we will find unity. And so this is the discussion we need to be having. And we need something that fosters that discussion, that is a powerful representation of what it is that humanity is experiencing right now. And that is an awakening. That is a transformation. For we are lions, not sheep. We are all divine manifestations of the Creator as a part of a grand stage play. And at this point in time, we are all alive and we are all called to take part in this awakening. And the Raise Our Awareness Revolution, Humanity's Roar, humbly aims to be that vehicle, to be that mechanism that brings humanity together. I'm just a messenger. A lot of this is essentially my life work. Never would have thought I'd have been in this role a year or two ago. For sure, beyond 2 years ago. This is just something, when you look at the world and you see all of the problems, if you're a critical thinker and a problem solver like me, then you're just trying to find solutions. And you've heard my solution. That's what this video is about. It's about helping us understand what that solution is and how we achieve it. It's not difficult to achieve, but it's difficult to break the chains and the shackles of our minds that our minds have been bound to for thousands of years. Our obedience to the authorities, and this idea that we have to latch on to one of those different belief systems and debate each other forever. And that's all an illusion. It's all to keep us divided. Because as long as we are divided, we will not achieve the future of humanity that is up to us as to whether or not we achieve it. And so this is the beginning of humanity's roar. There's a long road ahead of us. I do believe we're coming, again, to the end of an age. We're coming to a transitionary period. So there's still more as it relates to this stage play. There's still more dysfunction and chaos. But more now than ever is reason for humanity to put aside our differences and come together as it relates to what matters. And what matters is family. What matters is preservation of society. What matters is coexistence. What matters is love, forgiveness, peace, harmony. None of us are perfect, but I don't think any of us are called to be perfect, I guess. It's going to be a process. I'm not here to say I have all the answers, but I am here to say that I have a vision, and that vision is crystal clear in my mind, and my life is dedicated to this. And for anyone that shares this vision, for anyone that understands it, sees it, resonates with it, and wants to be a part of it, please reach out to me, because it really is as simple as us uniting. It's really that simple. Just think about the amount of money that goes to tithing and all the different organizations and all the overhead and all the wasted money in people being preyed on because of their insecurities and their lack of security as it relates to life after death, and the potential for humanity coming together and just contributing $1 a month. And this is not me asking for money. I'm talking about way into the future. Once we've come together in spirit and simplified our understanding of reality, our potential, our capability, it's endless, or there is no limit. We are in control of our future if we can unite and transition into that future together as one body in Christ, one body in consciousness, one body in spirit. That may offend some of y'all, but that's going to be a part of this discussion, and I look forward to hosting it and working with all of you on coming together. So anyway, once again, this is the Raise Our Awareness Revolution, Humanity's Roar. I'm Da Vinci the Truth. God bless. I love all of you. Take care.